But I think the great thing about this is we come together in person, we make all these in-person connections, and then when we go back into our lives, we kind of have this new network, and it can kind of keep us accountable and keep us into using these techniques and bringing it back into our daily life. It makes it more real.
If you read a Quantum Touch book, you realize that you are learning something different. If you attend a workshop, you see this alive, you are learning this, you're having the experience. It is not just an idea. But if you are in the nature learning Quantum Touch, it is a completely different experience. And that's what Thea is proposing. A retreat, a workshop. And I'd like to know more about this, Thea. How did you come with this idea?
Thanks, Gustavo. So it just kind of came about, I think, from doing the podcast and talking to different instructors. I realized that I knew people, but like I've never met them. Everything's been virtual. So I kept saying, like, wouldn't it be nice to do a conference or have an event where we can meet each other? And there was some ideas and nothing kind of really came together. And then I guess I was talking with Mayumi and she mentioned, I would love to come to Canada. And I was like, really? Okay. I was like, well, if you come to Canada, you got to teach level 2. And I'm like, well, if you're going to teach level 2, why don't we put level 1 before it? Because then if people come to learn about quantum touch, they can take the level 1, then they can take the level 2. And then we decided to do that. And we found this retreat center outside of Toronto, which would be great, kind of central for Ontario. And then we're like, well, everyone would have to arrive on the Wednesday night if they wanted to stay and do the Thursday, Friday level 1. So then we added on the energy boost. And I think it's just going to be a great experience of quantum touch, because if you're interested, you get to learn all 3 workshops. And not just that, just be around people in the energy for 5 days without that distraction of home, right? Without our habits and our routines, and really just learning something new and seeing what's possible.
Yes. And so you said 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
So how is this workshop organized? It is not just one workshop, but 3 workshops, right?
Yeah. So when you arrive on the Wednesday night, you can check in. So we have lodging, or we also have the option to tent if people want to camp. And then we will gather for the energy boost. And then Thursday, Friday, we'll do level 1. And then Saturday, Sunday, we'll do level 2. And I'm sure we'll add in some stuff in the evenings. We have a bunch of ideas of things we would want to do. It's just, we'll figure out how it all flows.
Yeah, so you'll be organized, I guess, because there are some animals there, right? There is a lot of green area. It is a remote place, I guess.
Yeah, it's kind of out in the country. So it's about a half hour north of Oshawa. And they have a lot of property. So there would be trails we could do. They do have some animals on site. I'm not entirely sure of all of them at the moment. So you can be with animals. And I mean, that's a really cool part, because we learn about using the energy work with animals. So it would be interesting to actually be able to do that.
Yes, this is very rich, because when you are doing the workshop, we're not in a farm, for example, but if you have animals there, you can practice with the animals, and they're very responsive with that.
Yeah, they're very open and accepting of the energy. So I didn't even think of that, but that would be a great way of just playing with the energy.
Another thing, as you mentioned before, is that you'll be building up a network with people interested in the same thing, and you can share. And like you're sharing here, we attended a workshop together, right? And now we're here exchanging, had our conversation previous to this interview, and all of this enriched the experience. We are there with people, and then you can have your network and do things together like you are doing with Mayumi. How is this meeting with Mayumi?
Yeah. And once again, that just kind of came about too. I think we have found each other on social media, on Instagram, I think a few years ago. And I knew she did quantum touch and I knew she had her skincare business, but I didn't know much more. And then last year when the podcast came about, then I had reached out to Mayumi and I was like, hey, like we haven't actually met. Would you love to connect and talk about quantum touch and we can record it for the podcast? And she agreed. And we just had such a beautiful conversation. And I just loved her simple approach to everything. And she just made it seem so easy.
It is very rare and very good to see, when we are in contact with someone like this. It's so this means the workshop will be simple, easy, and she will show with her lifestyle how simple is quantum touch and profound at the same time. Because when people are simples like this, they are profound also, right? And then she'll be showing this with her way of teaching quantum touch also. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, quantum touch in itself is just simple, right? We just use our breath and focus our attention and get clear on our intention. And I mean, really, those are three things that we're already doing on a daily basis. So it's just so natural, but learning how to, first of all, learning to be aware of each one can make huge impacts in our life. And then putting them all together with these techniques and then learning all the fun ways of amplifying it, like we learn in the level 1. And then that's level 2. We just taking that one step further of like amplifying it and making it easy, making it simple. It's really beautiful. So I'm really excited to be together with like-hearted people for 5 days without the like habits and cues of my own environment, right? Just to be immersed in this new kind of culture of people who are as excited and eager and just open to that love.
There are 3 workshops, individual workshops, but there is like the 3 workshops, and if someone does the 3 workshops, the person becomes a practitioner, right?
Almost, yeah. So you need 2 level 1s and a level 2 to become a practitioner, but definitely getting your level 1 and your level 2 is going to set you on your way. And not only that, you're going to meet so many other people who are also doing it. So when you need your 90 practice hours to become a practitioner, you'll have these connections of people you can practice with. So it should make becoming a practitioner very simple. I don't even know, right? Like what is possible? What do you want with the workshop? Like, I remember the first time I went into the workshop, I just remember hearing Richard talk about it and it just resonated with me. And I know I showed up on that first day and I had no idea what to expect. And then on day 2, when we learned chakras, I didn't even know what a chakra was. So, it totally blew me away as to what was possible. But I think the great thing about this is we come together in person, we make all these in-person connections. And then when we go back into our lives, we kind of have this new network and it can kind of keep us accountable and keep us into using these techniques and bringing it back into our daily life. It makes it more real. Like I know when I did my first level 1, I didn't have a network or a connection when I came home. And I reached out to those people from my first workshop. And then actually when the pandemic happened, we gathered and like weekly, if not more, and we would just run the energy together. So, those people from that first workshop really kind of became that foundation of my network for quantum touch, which I think that's the beauty that happens when we gather in person. I was lucky to do 2 level 1s before the pandemic. So they were in person. And I think my favorite part of the workshop was that 5-minute conversation you had about that insight that you discovered after that technique that you learned, because you were just sitting beside that person and you had their full attention and you could have that conversation, whereas we don't get that quite the same on Zoom.
Yes, it is different for sure. And and something very good of having this relationship, this network, is that we see the other people's experience, and you start thinking, well, I can do that. You start believing you can do that. It becomes normal. The stories we hear, and things happening, and people sharing stories about the clients when after everyone has already some experience, and you see, well, I can try this, I can try that, and then you come and you start adding your own experiences, something different inside. This is very interesting. And do you plan to do this once a year? What is the plan? What do you think about that?
I would love to. I would love if this is the beginning of something yearly or traditional. Heck, we could do it more than once a year if there's interest. Like, I love doing the in-person, and I think it's so cool that Mayumi's going to fly here. We're going to do a level 2 because we haven't had a level 2 in Ontario for a number of years. So this will be really special. Yeah.
Yes. All right. And what is the message you want to leave to whoever is watching this video and is interested and that is not certain which workshop to take? What is your advice?
Yeah, I would just say follow that thought or that knowing, right? Like, I mean, if you're attracted to it, then there's a reason for that. So follow through, because you're probably going to meet some incredible people. Everyone seems to come with their own beautiful story or reason for seeking this work. Or I even just love hearing, how did people learn about quantum touch? Because that in itself seems to be a beautiful story of some sort of synchronicity. And it's really just a preview of the beauty that we're yet to experience with this work.
Thank you very much, Thea. I want to hear from you after this event.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you so much, Gustavo.